is the only pure thing in this world.
Before the next battle begins in fire and ash, we need to go back millions of years to the birth of the Na'vi, the rise of humans, and the wars that shaped Pandora forever. On one side, world-altering greed that stops at nothing. On the other hand, a people bound to their planet, fighting to protect not just their home, but the very life of their world. Survival, sacrifice, and family struggles we all understand. Pandora's ancient origins. 12 million years ago, on a lush moon orbiting the gas giant Polyphemus, a new species began to take shape. The Na'vi, with humanoid physiology and a deep connection to the living world, they evolved as guardians of a planet whose life is intertwined with their own. They formed clans. Each has sacred lands, towering home trees. The Omadakaya clan established a tree that stood for over 20,000 years. By 16,000 years ago, the Na'vi preserved their stories through oral histories and songs. They encoded survival lessons, leadership principles, deep respect for Pandora's living network, Eywa. 837 BCE marked a turning point. Entu, a young warrior, rose to become the first Toruk Makto. Riding the legendary Great Leonopteryx, he united scattered clans at a moment of crisis. A volcanic eruption threatened the sacred Tree of Souls. His bravery saved countless lives. The Toruk Makto became a symbol: unity, responsibility, protection of Pandora itself. His flight became legend, shaping what it means to lead. Centuries later, Entu's legacy would echo in a modern Toruk Makto, facing the same challenges. But while the Na'vi thrived, a very different story unfolded far across the stars. Earth's collapse and corporate rise. On Earth, the 21st century was marked by crisis. Cities swelled beyond capacity. Resources dwindled. Climate spun into chaos. Floods, fires, sandstorms ravaged once thriving lands. Countless species vanished forever. Humanity teetered on ecological collapse. Governments struggled to respond. In this void, powerful megacorporations rose. Their influence rivaled entire nations. They saw opportunity where others saw disaster. By the mid-21st century, the Interplanetary Commerce Administration, the ICA, was established to regulate humanity's ambitions beyond Earth. But regulation was more promise than enforcement. Authority was delegated to corporations. Among them, the RDA emerged as the boldest: Resources Development Administration. Their mandate was clear: exploit extraterrestrial resources for profit. Leave no opportunity untapped. 2048 marked a turning point. The RDA announced an ambitious colonization program, humanity's first serious attempt to reach another world. Young Miles Quaritch, hardened in asymmetric warfare, would later command RDA forces on Pandora. His tactics were shaped by Earth's lawless wars. Environmental collapse forced urgent action. Corporate power filled the void. Pandora emerged as both solution and temptation. Discovery of Pandora. Between 2050 and 2077, astronomers identified Polyphemus in the Alpha Centauri system. More importantly, its lush moon, Pandora. Initial observations hinted at a world unlike anything on Earth. Towering jungles, floating mountains defying gravity, landscapes teeming with life. In 2084, the ISV Bradbury Starship launched unmanned probes. Data streamed back. Jungles stretched farther than any rainforest on Earth. Rivers wound like silver veins. Rare minerals. Most notably, unobtainium, a room-temperature superconductor promising untold wealth. Pandora was more than a scientific curiosity. It was an opportunity, a solution to Earth's energy crisis, a possible refuge for a civilization on the brink. But Pandora's atmosphere was toxic to humans. The RDA innovated avatar technology hybrid human Na'vi bodies that could survive on Pandora. Exosuits allowed safe navigation. Early exploration confirmed the presence of complex life, but found no intelligent species. Yet, back on Earth, instability intensified. Political fragmentation, climate disasters, corporate wars accelerated the RDA's timeline. Pandora was both a prize and a test, a world that could save humanity or doom it. First contact and cooperation. By 2119, humanity took its first fundamental steps onto Pandora. The RDA established Hell's Gate, a fortified base and mining operation. Settlers quickly discovered Pandora was no ordinary world. Dense jungles, floating mountains, alien wildlife. Every step is a challenge. Initial encounters with the Na'vi were cautious, tentative, fraught with misunderstanding. The Na'vi observed humans with suspicion, wary of their machines, fires, and intrusive presence. In 2124, Dr. Grace Augustine arrived, a xenobotanist with a vision. She became one of the first Avatar program scientists, tasked with bridging the human and Na'vi worlds. Through her research, she began gaining trust, offering medical aid, studying Pandora's neural network. The Avatar program achieved 3 goals: diplomacy with the Na'vi, safe labor for humans, and deep scientific research. Yet trust remained fragile. Tensions simmered. The 2,130 seconds began as cautious hope. Grace immersed herself in studying Pandora's neural network, a vast living web connecting all life. She earned the Omaticaya clan's trust. In 2138, RDA mining contamination affected water sources. Illness spread among Na'vi clans. Grace stepped in, using Pandora's flora to find a cure, saving countless lives, temporarily reinforcing the bond. By 2142, Grace established a school for Na'vi youth. Among her pupils were Neytiri and her older sister Silwanen. For a decade, the school symbolized hope, a bridge between worlds. The Bulldozer Massacre. By 2152, the fragile peace shattered in an instant. RDA bulldozers rolled toward the Tree of Voices, a sacred Na'vi site near Geometry. Silwanen, Neytiri's older sister and Grace's star pupil, stood in their path. She led a group of young Na'vi students. They climbed onto the bulldozer, tried to stop the machine with their bare hands. RDA SecOps troops opened fire. Bullets tore through the air. Silwanen fell first, then her classmates. Grace rushed to save them, but it was too late. Blood stained the sacred ground. The school closed that day. Trust collapsed. Years of goodwill destroyed in seconds. Neytiri inherited her sister's legacy and the weight of her sacrifice. One moment of violence had erased decades of tentative peace. Jake Sully arrives. Meanwhile, conflict on Earth escalated. Marine Jake Sully, born 2126, served in Venezuela. He suffered a spinal injury, paralyzed from the waist down. In 2145, Jake's twin brother, Tom, was recruited into the Avatar program, a PhD scientist preparing for Pandora. However, in 2148, weeks before departure, Tom was murdered in a random robbery. His death left the program short one driver. Because Jake was Tom's identical twin, the RDA offered Jake the chance. A former Marine now using a wheelchair, struggling for a sense of purpose. Jake agreed. Promised expensive spinal surgery in exchange. In 2148, Jake departed Earth aboard the ISV Venture Star. The journey took 6 years in cryosleep. The First Pandora War, 2154, is the pivotal year. Jake awakened from cryo on May 19th. He met Grace Augustine and Colonel Quaritch. On a scientific expedition, Jake was attacked by a Thanator, lost after nightfall. Beset by viper wolves, Neytiri intervened, saved him. A sign from Eywa wood sprites gathering around Jake changed her mind. She brought Jake to Geometry. The clan agreed to test him. For months, Jake lived among the Omaticaya, learning to hunt, speak Na'vi, bond with Pandora's life. He tamed his own Ikran. All this time, Jake secretly reported to Quaritch about the Na'vi. Their home sat atop a rich deposit of unobtainium. But Jake fell in love with Neytiri, questioning his loyalties. He passed all tests. That same night, he and Neytiri chose each other as mates before Eywa. But Jake's reports had set terrible events in motion. On August 19th, bulldozers plowed through the Tree of Voices. Jake attacked, blowing his cover. Quaritch pulled Jake out. On August 20th, Quaritch's gunships unleashed missiles on Geometry. The tree shattered. Many Na'vi were killed, including Neytiri's father. The Na'vi turned on Jake. Grace was gravely wounded. On August 21st, Jake tamed Toruk, becoming Toruk Makto, a figure of legend. This convinced the clan to accept him again. He pleaded to save Grace's life through consciousness transfer, but her injuries were too severe. She died in Jake's arms. Jake and Neytiri united 15 Na'vi clans. At dawn on August 23rd, the RDA launched a massive offensive against the Tree of Souls. Jake, atop Toru, coordinated Na'vi defense. A fierce aerial battle ensued. The Na'vi suffered heavy losses, but then Pandora intervened. Eywa sent wildlife Titan others, swarms of banshees to attack human forces. Quaritch faced Jake and Neytiri on the ground. Neytiri killed Quaritch with 2 arrows. The Na'vi won. Defeated RDA personnel were expelled. On August 24th, Jake underwent consciousness transfer, permanently moving his mind into Hayavatarzar body, rebuilding, and family. With the RDA gone, the Na'vi enjoyed brief peace. Jake, now leader of the Omaticaya, worked to unite clans. The Omaticaya relocated to the Hallelujah Mountains, In September 2154, a rival named Arvok attempted to assassinate Jake. Jake was poisoned, but Moat cured him. The conspirators were exiled. Jake solidified his role as clan leader. Jake and Neytiri started a family. Netium was born in 2155, followed by adopted daughter Kiri, born mysteriously from Grace's inert avatar. Their second son, Loak, was born a year later. Tuk was born in 2163. Also growing up with them was Miles Spider Socorro, a human boy born on Pandora, son of Quaritch's late pilot. Jake allowed Spider to tag along. Spider saw Jake and Neytiri as parental figures. Meanwhile, Earth's ecological death spiral accelerated. By the 2160 seconds, and a crisis of extinction-level proportions for humanity, the RDA turned its attention back to Pandora. New goal: colonize Pandora as a lifeboat for Earth's population. Under Jake's guidance, the clan prepared for another invasion. This calm lasted about 14 years. The RDA returns. In January 2168, deep space sensors detected new RDA starships. After 15 years, the Sky People returned in force. This marked the Second Pandoran War. Jake organized a preemptive strike in space. Using commandeered shuttlecraft and Na'vi trained in zero-G, Jake led a raiding party. They destroyed at least one ship, but the RDA's numbers were overwhelming. The bulk of the fleet survived. On the ground, heavily armed forces under General Francis Ardmore retook Hell's Gate, built Bridgehead, a fortified city with advanced defenses. In months, Bridgehead became a sprawling colony. Jake's insurgents could only harass the edges. By 2169, humans established dominance around Bridgehead. RDA forces pushed into the western frontier. Na'vi youths, hidden in cryo since 2154, awakened. After 15 years of sleep, they emerged into a world at war. Led by Solek from the Sarentu clan, they joined Jake's resistance. The conflict was fierce. RDA administrators launched campaigns to oppress the frontier. Na'vi fought back. Senior RDA leaders were assassinated. Mercer and Harding were killed for the Na'vi. Justice. But they suffered losses too. By year's end, RDA expansion was blunted, but humans held the advantage. The Ocean War. By 2170, conflict reached a new frontier, Pandora's oceans. The RDA deployed recombinant Na'vi soldiers, humans whose memories were cloned into Na'vi bodies. Leading them was Quaritch, reincarnated in a Na'vi body. His mission: hunt and eliminate Jake Sully. Recognizing the threat, Jake made a painful choice. He stepped down from leadership, retreated with his family across the ocean, invoking Uturu seeking sanctuary with the Metkayina Reef clan, led by Tonowari and Ronal. The Sullys spent months integrating, learning the ways of the sea, gradually becoming part of the Reef clan. But safety was fleeting. Quaritch traced their path. Using Spider as a reluctant guide, he orchestrated a devastating strike. The Sea Dragon fleet terrorized ocean clans, killing countless Tolkun to harvest Amrita, a golden liquid halting human aging. One jar is worth more than a kilogram of unobtainium. At the Three Brothers Islands, the Sullys and Metkayina fought desperately. Netium was killed, defending his siblings a heartbreaking loss. Loak, with outcast Tulkun Payakan, fought valiantly. The final confrontation between Jake and Quaritch was both personal and symbolic. On the Sea Dragon wreckage, the old enemies clashed. Spider saved Quaritch from drowning but remained loyal to the Sullys. Quaritch retreated, defeated but alive. The Sullys fully integrated into the Metkayina clan, pledging to defend the reefs. Yet the ocean's calm was temporary. Fire and ash awaits. As the Sullys and Reef clans rebuilt, a new threat emerged. Varang, leader of the Ash People. Her clan inhabited the shadow of a volcano. Unlike the RDA, Varang wielded Pandora's forces itself. The next chapter will push heroes to the limits of courage, strategy, and unity. With volcanoes threatening regions and the environment teetering on the edge, the Na'vi will fight on multiple fronts. The timeline will jump forward 6 years in future installments. Heroes will face trials, testing combat skills, moral judgment, leadership, and willingness to sacrifice. Themes that shaped Pandora unity, family, leadership, environmental stewardship, spiritual connection to Eywa will be tested like never before. From the first Toruk Makto to the Ocean War, the Na'vi have shown resilience and courage, but the next battles will demand more unity, wisdom, and sacrifice. Pandora's greatest trials are still ahead. If you enjoyed this timeline breakdown, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for our next deep dive into Fire and Ash. The fight for Pandora has only just begun.